Welcome to part 3 of the series 10 Hard Truths That Make It Difficult to Be a Lean Hospital Leader. I'm Richard Rahn with the Leonardo Group. We're specialists in lean for healthcare. And in this series, we're counting down from 10 to 1, and part 3 will be covering Hard Truths 3, 2, and 1. So let's get right into it. Hard truth number 3 in our countdown is every process needs a target condition. Another way of expressing this hard truth is that every process needs to have an improvement goal that you're actively working towards. So let's take a look at why this is true, other than for the obvious reason that we'd like to improve. You might think that if you're not working actively towards an improvement goal in your department, then at least you can maintain a stable process and not backslide. But that turns out to be generally not true. Sure, of course, this is possible, but human nature is such that if you don't have an active improvement goal, then the tendency is going to be for procedures and processes to degrade. That's just the way it is. It's like pushing a car up a hill or a rock up a mountain if you prefer. If you stop pushing, the car is going to start rolling back down. In fact, a certain amount of pushing will be needed just to keep it in place. So, in this hard truth, we're trying to answer the question, what next? What is the next improvement project that you'll be working on in your area, in your department? And you don't just ask the question, you actually create a plan with a specific action or actions, dates, and people. Sure, you're already busy with day-to-day responsibilities, but at least some time will be dedicated, at least every week, to improvement activities. This becomes an ongoing and cyclical process. When you make an improvement, what used to be the future state has now become the current state. But you don't rest on your laurels. You then identify the next step to work towards. Notice the step at the end of this illustration with a star. This is the vision or statement of perfection that you're moving towards, but don't actually expect to achieve. For example, 0 defects may be a laudable goal, but you don't actually expect to achieve this 100%. But each new target condition will move you closer to the goal, but you don't actually expect to arrive or get there. These ideas don't have to be large. Here's an example of a simple improvement project that probably only took a few hours to complete. This is an example from the equipment room, and you can probably identify with the need for organization in a room like this. This is an example of the future state that has been converted into the current state by creating a designated location on the floor, marking the location with tape, and labeling it. Not too hard, right? The next time that this card is needed, you know where it is, and you know where it's supposed to be afterwards. Okay, let's move on to hard truth number 2. Hard truth number 2 is you must maintain a high level of 7S. In plain English, this means that although it's not particularly sexy, a high level of organization and housekeeping is needed. The term 7S refers to 7 words that begin with the letter S, including sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain, security, safety. The hard part, the hard truth of this item is not so much the creation of a high level of 7S, but it is in the sustaining of it. We're referring here to the steps of standardize and sustain. It's just like our garage at home. It's not that hard to clean it, but the question is, how do we maintain it that way over a longer period of time? Now, here's some of the things that can happen due to a lack of a high level of 7S. If you have to take time to look for a wheelchair because of lack of organization, that can extend the discharge time for a patient. Procedures not starting on time may result from having to look for needed equipment. reordering or locating supplies which you may have in stock but which you can't find easily, are another example. How about supplies that are expired because they weren't organized properly and were buried behind other items? Do you want to have nurses able to do their jobs or to be acting as hoop jumpers? That is, people having to jump through hoops often, doing things that are not standardized. This is just a very small set of the kinds of waste that happen every day due to a low level of 7S. Now here's a little more detail on the 7S process. The first step is sort, which is to remove unneeded items from the area that you're addressing. Think in terms of your own garage. You can't start to clean it until everything in it has been removed. Now, once you have an open space, then you can shine or clean, and the goal is to keep that work area spotless and be able to maintain all equipment in it rigorously, like your car. The third step is set in order. So once the area is clean, then you can start to put things back. And the guideline used is only put back those things that you actually are using or that you actually need. To maintain the area and a high level of organization, you then need to define a process, which is standardize, and then you need to have a process in place to keep it up, which is sustain. Now, we've added two other S's, safety and security, that are particularly important in hospitals that need to be included as part of your assessment and as part of your sustaining process. Here are the 7S processes shown in a graphical format. The goal is to create a perfect workspace, which will in turn reduce or actually eliminate many sources of waste that keep our staff from doing the jobs that they were hired to do. Okay, let's move on to the final hard truth. Hard truth number 1 is management must understand lean deeply. We haven't listed the hard truths in any particular order, but I think we could say that this one ranks high in importance. Without management understanding lean deeply, and without leading the lean initiative, your chance of becoming a lean hospital is slim. So let's explore this idea in more detail. Lean is democratic, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't require leadership. It's democratic in the sense that we expect input from all of our staff members. But management needs to take the lead in approving projects and making sure that the resources that are needed are made available. This will be difficult to achieve if hospital management doesn't really understand the lean vision and a lean way of thinking that may be different from the way things have been done in the past. I understand. We mean more than simply a superficial understanding. Understanding is achieved primarily by doing. That's the reason why Toyota rarely hires people from the outside into leadership positions. It takes time for people to understand the lean approach, especially if they are new to it. Now, if you're a hospital manager and want to become a lean leader, as you should, then a good first step is to acquire some intensive knowledge. And that, however, is only a first step. You need to apply this knowledge as quickly as possible in the form of actual improvement projects. You can start small, don't be overly ambitious at first, and then build up from there. Of course, if a project is not sustained afterwards, then you just wasted your time in even doing it. So sustainability is a key element that managers are also responsible for. Overall, we can say that continuous improvement, or Kaizen in Japanese, becomes a part of your regular job, and it's not something exotic or special. As a lean hospital manager, don't think that you need to know all the answers. It's okay to say, I don't know. Likewise, you don't want to apply the lean tools as a dogma. Your first friend is common sense and the scientific method. In the lean world, the scientific method is called PDCA, or Plan, Do, Check, Act. In simple terms, this means being willing to try something in a formal way, test the results, and adopt a new way of doing things if appropriate. So 2 more points as a manager. Make sure you budget time for Kaizen or continuous improvement within your department. If no time is allowed for improvement, then it's difficult for improvement to happen. And finally, keep Kaizen in the back of your mind even during regular staff duties. Normal rounding duties, for example. Look for opportunities during that time to simplify or reduce waste or reduce waiting, and so on. So here's a great example for allowing for Kaizen time that we saw at one of our client hospitals. In this interesting example, a hospital department had traditionally taken some time on Fridays, which was one of their slow days, to have a staff lunch, a social event. As lean began to be introduced into the department manager decided to take advantage of this time, not only to have a social event, but to work on improvement opportunities by improving a process within the department. So every Friday, a project was defined and some time was dedicated to working on it. The beauty of this new strategy was not so much what could be achieved in a few hours, but the fact that they did it every Friday over a long period of time. Now, the difference in this department over time was enormous, and they started calling these Friday sessions Fix-It Fridays. What we like to say is that there are only 2 kinds of hospitals: those who are pursuing a lean strategy and those who will. You don't need to use the word lean, but continuous improvement is not optional. Or better said, improvement is optional if you don't mind not surviving. For those organizations that want to survive into the future, improvement is a requirement. And history has shown us that the lean approach, or the approach based on a structured application of the scientific method to all of the organization processes, is the best way to proceed. And this is the reason that lean is being introduced into hospitals at a rapid pace all around the world. The best way for you to contribute to this movement and to ensure your own job security, to be honest, is to become a lean expert within your organization. And the starting point for that is to get trained and to start doing lean projects. And you now have a unique opportunity to spend 3 days with the authors of the book Roadmap for the Lean Hospital and 5 other lean hospital books in an intensive workshop designed to move you towards the goal of becoming a lean expert at your hospital. The workshop is being hosted by a world leader in surgical instruments, CONMED, at their state-of-the-art training facility in Largo, Florida, another great location. So you can get all the details about this workshop, including the agenda, the schedule, the dates, and the cost, by clicking on the link shown below. So thanks for joining us in this short course on the 10 Hard Truths. And I look forward to sharing other lean hospital training opportunities with you in the near future.